All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome
Hey, hey.
to Through the Garden. Whoa, what is happening? Why is last week's playing?
Uh-oh.
That was weird. Did you hear that echo?
No,
Anyways, what's up, guys? It was
Hey,
going through my headset.
I think you're just
Today,
hearing ghosts.
I think I'm hearing ghosts. Today's Thursday, Wednesday, Jesus,
Wednesday.
March 27th, and we're going to talk baseball. Somebody else say something. Dear God.
Because opening day is Thursday,
That is
so
all I'm
we are
thinking about.
geeked for that.
That is all I'm thinking about. All I want is
Right on.
baseball in my life. Like that is the only thing on my mind right now. So, what's up, boys? How we doing? How we feeling?
Oh, ready for the season. We just lined up our opening day schedule at Cubby's Crib. Gonna be a great one.
Yeah, I'm
Gonna be
I'm
fun.
ready. This off season, it felt like this is one of the longest off seasons of all time. Yeah, Tommy, clean it up.
For real.
Come on, man, clean
Yeah,
it up.
it has been so long. Like it started with, this is gonna be the best free agency of all time, and it was the worst. We had people watching Airplane. Shohei Ohtani wasn't even on. People were trying to figure out the name of his dog. Jordan Montgomery just got signed.
Yeah.
It's
Yesterday,
just it has just been a whirlwind, boys. Like I'm just the Cubs relative for the most part stayed pretty healthy during the spring. Had a couple bumps. We'll figure it out. But opening days tomorrow. Justin Steele's on the bump. We're taking on the defending champs. Like
baptism by
I
fire.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm just and I tweeted about it today that we're gonna know about these Cubs real quick because it's Rangers, and then we get KB back for the Rockies, and then Dodgers, Padres, Diamondbacks, the Marlins are in there, the Astros are in there, like everybody but the Dodgers, like those are all contenders. Like we're gonna know about the Chicago Cubs real quick.
Yeah, it's a tough first month, and it's kind of funny because you have the defending World Series champs first, and then your third series is that series against the Dodgers, and then you have that trap series right in the middle with the Colorado Rockies. So you got to take advantage of what you can. And listen, right now, looking at where the Cubs are at, and we're going to go into the competition, and everything here, but right now it seems like day after day there's more and more of an opening to win the NL Central. And I say that because look around the NL Central. You said we stayed relatively healthy, and that's true because you look at like what the Reds are going through, they're
Hmm.
having some injury issues.
Bad.
The Cardinals have some injury issues in their rotation. So, more and more you look at the situation and say, you know what? There is more of an opening here. And you're going to have that opening right away. So, what you can't do is do what you did last year, digging yourself a hole to climb out of. You want to get out gates going and at least, not fall behind anything. Obviously the first month won't make or break the whole thing, but we saw last year the hole we had to climb out of was just one game too deep. We can't do that again.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's gonna hit hard fast. Like it doesn't get any basically any harder than taking on the defending champs, right? Like
No,
I mean
on the
Oh, yeah.
road.
in their house, they're getting their rings, they're hanging their first banner in franchise history. Like it's whew, it's gonna be a fun weekend, boys, but man, it's gonna be tough. I'm
Yeah.
excited for it. We're gonna dissect the Cubs all over the place from every angle. But before we do that, let's just let's just go back to the Shohei thing, if I may, because it got like after we talked about it last week, it got crazier. It was
Yeah.
insane. Yeah. So what happened? It like so many shifts in the stories of who's doing what and why and how, and now we got Shohei saying that he didn't know about it and he fired and somebody else fired them because they found out before him. Like, I don't know how he didn't know about it if they were best friends. So there's holes from every angle in this story. Pete Rose is like, I was an interpreter shy of making the Hall of Fame. Like, I don't think that this is nearly over because something
No, yeah.
somebody's not telling the truth here, and somebody's gonna figure it out.
Yeah, and think about this. I mean, our bank, whether it's a $10 Zelle, whether it's a $25 Venmo that we send to someone else, our banks usually require some type of two-factor authentication to make sure that we're the ones transferring that money.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, magnify this by what was it, 4.5 million?
Just a couple dollars more than we deal
Yeah,
with, yeah.
Yeah, maybe a
in
few nickels and dimes here or there more.
in $500,000 wire transfers. And the thing that is not adding up with Shohei's response is that he did not know that money was gone. Do I think Shohei gambled? Probably not.
I don't think so either.
Do I think Shohei probably initially covered the debt of his translator? 100%. Because
Yeah.
there's no way that a wire transfer, recurring wire transfers of $500,000 can be sent from one person to another person without the account holder knowing. I just don't see
There's no way.
any scenario that is something that actually happened.
Yeah, I mean, my kind of theory is, and again, I'm really trying to wait for all the facts to come out before I make judgment. I mean, the way my theory is right now, Shohei Ohtani didn't intend on doing anything bad or illegal or immoral. I think that my honest theory is he thought he could just help a friend out, saying, "Okay, don't worry, I can help you out here. If you need some money, I can give you some money to help pay off these debts." And then all of a sudden, we see, oh, these transfers that this guy made were much bigger than we thought, and this is a bigger deal, and it kind of backfired. And Shohei's camp is just kind of like, oh shit. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's kind of what I feel like happened. Again, like I don't think Shohei did anything immoral or intend to do anything wrong or immoral or
Right.
illegal. I think he might have just been trying to help a friend and it just kind of backfired. And maybe this translator just did have access to the money and sent it. We don't know for sure. I
It's
mean,
Yeah.
possible.
it's
It's
possible.
possible.
It's
It
it's not likely, but it's still possible.
Oh yeah.
Well, you
For
gotta
sure.
think, like, Shohei's coming over to a country that he doesn't know the language, and
Right.
Americans are too dumb to make everybody know 2 different languages, so, like, there's no shot we know what he's talking about.
Right.
So, he probably very much depended on his interpreter for opening bank accounts and
Sure.
Oh
finding
yeah.
homes and stuff.
100%. Yeah.
So, it it checks out that this guy would probably have some information that not everybody's privy to have about
Nobody like
Shohei
us would.
Ohtani.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's possible that he totally took advantage of the situation. It's possible that he went and said, "Hey, I'm in some trouble. Like I don't want to tell you what's going on, but I'm in some trouble. I need some money." And Shohei's like, "Okay, sure. Like I have a bajillion dollars. Just take whatever you
Right.
need."
Right,
That
right.
all of that checks out. But you just gotta wonder. You just gotta wonder if
Yeah.
there's more.
Yeah. And it's funny, if only we had baseball president that was kind of willing to dig into this instead of, a Friday night, 6 p.m. of the second night of March Madness news dump.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
It
uh,
feels but it's also the right regime for Shohei to have something like this because this
100%.
is the
Yeah.
regime that would throw it right under the table and get rid of it
100%.
immediately.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And that's why, I mean, when the feds get involved, you're like, all right, you understand that Shohei Ohtani's not going to answer media questions because there's an active investigation going on. There were a lot of people saying, well, it's a bad look for Shohei Ohtani. He's not taking questions. Like, that's, you're under investigation with the feds. There's not really much you can do or say right now. Obviously, you got to kind of let this legal process pay out. And then, you just kind of make your statement through what your lawyers and all your legal representatives
Right.
helped put together for you.
Yep.
So when more information comes out, we'll probably know. But like you said, Tommy, the fact that the story has changed so many times and you just scratch your head wondering, I mean, hell, if I went to like IKEA right now and just said, hey, I'm going to buy like one of every item in IKEA, like the one section of chairs, like I buy like several $100s worth of cheap chairs, I'm probably going to get a notification from my credit card company being like, "Hey, did you authorize these transactions?" And
Yeah.
we're talking that's peanuts compared to
Oh yeah.
4 point whatever million dollars it is. And here's the other question I do have too. How much debt did this guy get into? Like, how
Well,
does a
that's the
guy
thing.
who's
Yeah.
not a famous celebrity like Shohei Ohtani himself get into this? Like, if you're not if somebody is like, hey, here's just some guy that probably makes 200K at the most a year, like, you think you have confidence that this guy's good for the money if you're making bets? It's
Right.
something I'm asking. I don't know.
Yeah.
No,
It's
yeah.
wild.
I mean, that's the thing. You would, I mean, hey, I play, the legal apps that we have available, but you would think that in something along those lines, that someone like a translator who's earning 300 to 500K a year is not extended a credit line of $4.5 million. It
Yeah.
just doesn't
Yeah.
add up and just makes you wonder, like, hey, did this bookmaker know that Shohei wasn't gambling, but was involved as potentially backing the plays financially?
Yeah.
Right.
And also, if you have a problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Yep.
Stuff. All right. That's going to be a continuous story that we're going to
Oh
talk
yeah.
about for a very long
Oh
time.
yeah.
Yep.
Real quick before we get back to Cubs previewing, the Dodgers did sign their catcher to a 10-year deal, and
Yeah.
there's more deferrals for like 10 years.
Yeah.
They're like the
Yeah.
kings of deferrals. But it is kind of nice to know that in 10 years, the Dodgers are probably not going to be able to be good because they got to pay everybody for these 10 years, right?
No, that TV contract's still gonna be paying them. So
I'm trying to find some light here, man.
Wake me in 10 years.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, let's get into our preview here because it's not a cakewalk for the Dodgers, especially in the National League. The
Yeah.
National League is a powerhouse this year.
Yeah.
You-
There's
I
a
think
lot of
the-
talent across the
I
board. Yep.
Yeah, I think if everything plays the way that it should, I think the only division that should not be a contest should be the National League Central, and it should be the Chicago Cubs on the top. Everybody else, the Braves got the Phillies. And then in the West, the Dodgers have the Diamondbacks and the Padres and the Giants. Like, it is not a cakewalk for anybody.
No, it's not. And I mean, look at the NL East for a second. You mentioned the Braves, you mentioned the Phillies. Those are two of the best offenses in baseball. I'm not saying the Mets are going to be good, but they're not going to be a pushover either. I mean, they got some talent. And then you look at the
Yeah.
Florida Marlins, or the Miami Marlins.
Miami Marlins, yeah.
I still call them the Florida Marlins. But you
Yeah.
look at the Miami Marlins, they made the postseason last year and they got good young pitching. Obviously Sixto Sanchez is going to be part of that mix. We saw how nasty that kid could be. I'm very curious to see Tim Anderson. Does he
Yeah.
revive himself a bit in South Beach, especially with Luis Ariz in that lineup too? Could you imagine if Tim Anderson reverted back to like his 2019, 2020, 2021 self, and the top two in your order were Luis Ariz and Tim Anderson?
Yeah.
That's a dream right there.
Crazy.
Yeah, and I'm honestly what Miami is doing is it's impressive because they have the young pitching. You have Arise, you have Tim Anderson, but you also have Jake Burger, who is
Mhm.
one of the best power hitters that many people across Major League Baseball don't know because he was on the South Side last year. So if you weren't in the city of Chicago, you weren't up to date with Burger Mania. But Jake Burger has a tremendous power swing. So if the Marlins can just stay competitive in that division, that's gonna be a fun 3-way, 4-way race to watch.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
you know what the Marlins kind of remind me of this year is kind of like the Diamondbacks of last year. A bunch of
Yeah.
guys that
Mhm.
nobody really knows, but they're going to be good. So, who knows? And the Diamondbacks barely snuck into the playoffs last year and they played for a World Series. So,
Yeah.
anything can happen. All you got to do is get in the dance.
Yeah, and that's what brings it back to the Cubs. I was reading the Athletics piece on Monday, long, full feature on Jed Hoyer where he spoke about different things with the Cubs. There was a quote that was kind of a takeaway where he, in not so many words, admits that he didn't make it a sure thing that the Cubs would win the division. He said they can't do that. He said they can't be like the Dodgers. I just saw your franchise evaluations. You definitely could be like the Dodgers if you wanted to, but that's not the point. They said they're just expecting to outperform their external projections for a second straight year, and that's fine because they're in the division where you can do that. And while I don't hate the offseason that they've had, I hate the fact that there's this over reliance on their internal systems that they will always outperform what the whole baseball world is saying about them. And
Right.
they feel like all they have to do is get in. That's such a loser's mentality for the Chicago Cubs to have. And sure, it might work this year. You might praise it as a success, but you're not going to win the World Series with that approach.
Yeah, it sucks because like they had a chance to really put their feet on the throats of these teams in this division and say, this is ours.
Right.
And there's no doubt about it. And they're choosing to believe in what they got, which I respect that they believe so much in what they already have. But at the same time, like what is 2 years with Jordan Montgomery going to hold up for Ben Brown? You know,
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
like you got a team that's ready right now. If you just get a couple more pieces, and then there's no question, right?
I've said
And
multiple
then,
times we're one
yeah,
bat away, one pitcher
Yeah.
away from being
correct.
legit.
Yeah, exactly. And when they signed Cody Bellinger, that was a huge relief. That was weight off the shoulders. It's like, okay, now this feels
Huge.
like a more complete team.
Mhm.
This feels like a team that can contend, right? What if they did say like Jordan Montgomery, here's 2 years, 30 million each. Like you can opt out after the first one. Exactly with what they did with Cody Bellinger. And then now you got Jordan Montgomery in this rotation that I'm sorry, like on paper, sounds great. I'm all in. But are we really trusting Kyle Hendricks to be number 2?
No.
Like,
Not now.
are we really trusting Javier Assad to hold it down for Jameson
No.
Tyone to come back?
No.
And then are we trusting Jameson Tyone? Like,
No.
what if it was what if it was Justin Steele 1, Jordan Montgomery 2, Shota Imanaga 3? Like, bam, bam, bam. Then I don't care what you do with the other 2. Like,
Yeah.
we had every opportunity to just shove it down their throats, and then we didn't. And so that
Yeah.
bothers me. But I still am very confident in this team winning this division and getting into the playoffs and making a run. I really love what Craig Counsell did with the lineup. He's got Ian Happ leading off, and then he's got Seiya in the 2-hole. I wrote a really long blog today about Seiya in the 2-hole and how much I love it. And he's raking. He batted .459 in spring.
Huge
And
spring.
I mean, he's not going to bat 400 in a 162 game season. It's
Not
not
that
happen.
attitude.
But if he is giving us close to 300 from the 2-hole and he's got an OBP, like, come on. Like, and then and then you're just handing it to Cody and you're handing it to Nico, you're handing it to Christopher. Like this lineup has the potential to be a big problem if it does what it's supposed to do.
Right. Exactly. Yep. And I think that
So,
there's
couple comments here from Kevin. Scrooge McMurgans close the wallet. And then Pete here has this one. I need the Cubs and Dodgers NLCS. And the Cubs win Game 7 against Ohtani. That would be incredible.
That would be, yeah. And
could you imagine a Cubs Dodgers Game 7 in Chavez Ravine? Oh man.
Whoa. Chavez Ravine. No.
It's not going to be at Wrigley.
I know.
Tommy.
Yeah, it's not going to be at Wrigley. And and it just again, I mean, not to beat a dead horse, but the moves that we were asking the Cubs to make wasn't going all in, and it wasn't risking the long-term future of your prospects. Jordan Montgomery, like you said, signed a 2-year, what's probably going to be a $50 million contract with the Diamondbacks. That wouldn't stunt the development of Cade Horton or Ben Brown. JD Martinez signed a 1-year, $12 million deal with the Mets. That's not going all in. And
it comes down to it comes down to what Kevin said. I mean, like he closed the wallet.
Well, they want to go over the luxury tax.
Yeah, but didn't
the
they?
Whole thing. That's the whole reason behind this.
But didn't they go over the luxury tax? I thought somebody reported that they were actually over the tax.
Let me
just by a little
check.
bit, but they were over
Well,
the
you
tax.
got to remember there are multiple tiers of the luxury tax.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah, but he went just over the first tier,
I'm pulling it
and
up now. Give me
yeah,
1 second.
but yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's the difference between the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Cubs is the
No,
Yankees and
yeah,
the Dodgers don't give a crap, and
No.
yeah,
they're going to buy a championship, which only the Dodgers were successful in a year that doesn't count. Other than that, like neither one of them have done it. That's defense to Tom Ricketts, but also there's them going to do it and not and being a sports owner and doing it. So
yeah. And just
it's
to
yeah,
close the chapter on this conversation, Cubs are at 235.5 million for their payroll. That's about 1.5 million under the first luxury tax. So no, they
Right.
didn't even
I was going to
go
say we
over.
didn't
Yeah.
go into the
Mhm.
first
Yeah.
tier. Right.
well, there's your answer.
They're
There's
probably
your
gonna
answer.
go they could go into the luxury tax come trade deadline. Now that is where you do have some hope in there is if you're in this race come trade deadline, you have the ammunition to add.
Mhm.
Whether that's calling guys up and they end up being good or using some of those guys as trades for reinforcements. So the fact that the Cubs have a top farm system going to this year does give you some more ammunition and does give you a bit more hope. The thing is that you got to be in the race come that time. And I think
Yeah,
they can be. I think they very well can be. But, you know, if you ask me about 2013, and I've said this many, many times, I'm going to say it again. The collapse at the end didn't bother me. What bothered me is that they dug themselves such a hole the first 2 months because of how unserious they were being. Putting
Right.
Eric Hosmer in at DH, batting in the middle of your lineup, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Yeah.
You're in this position and you're doing that. And the bats to Tucker Barnhart and the Trey Mancini and playing Miles Mastrobuoni every day, who I really like as a bench guy, really, really
Oh
like.
yeah.
But
What
as an
about him today?
everyday player, was clearly not suitable for that role, and they kept doing it. And
Yeah.
you dug yourself a hole to where you had to play flawless baseball for 3 months to dig yourself out of it. And then when you dug yourself out and you were at the top of the hole and you're like, "Yay, I'm out," you suddenly got tired and fell back in those last
Yeah.
yeah,
few weeks. You can't do that again. That drove me nuts.
yeah. I will say, uh, I trust Craig Counsell a
So
whole
do
lot.
I.
I
Oh yeah.
very much trust him to do everything he can with the guys he's provided.
I feel much
But
better. Yes, about that. Mhm.
yeah,
And yeah,
I just wish he was provided a little bit more ammo.
and that's a realization, right? In hindsight, we could look back at the counselor hire, knowing what we know about the Cubs offseason, knowing how they are going to consistently rely on outperforming their external projections. That's why the counselor hire was so important because counselor's not just a good guy to have in the clubhouse like David Ross is. Counselor is going to put the roster in the best position to win games. That's Myers Mastrobuoni being a true 26 man on the roster. That's Mike Tauchman being a true bench guy on the roster.
Mhm.
To the Cubs fans that are upset that Mastrobuoni and Tauchman are on the roster, there's no need to get up in arms about those two players. If we see this season what we saw last season in the summer of Tauchman being an everyday occurrence in center field, Master Brony being an everyday player at third base, be upset. But
Yeah.
I can guarantee you Counselor is not going to do that. And as long as those two players are in that role, I think they can both be successful. Quick note on Master Brony, he hit over 300 last year in the second half. I
Yeah, it
think
was
Cubs
much better in
fans,
that role.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was. Yeah.
I think Cubs fans grew an annoyance with him the second they saw him as the opening day right fielder last season, and they never forgave either him or David Ross for it.
Yeah.
But as a bench player, I think he'll be fine, and
Yeah.
they have the
And
right guy in council.
I'll say the other guy. Yeah, I'll say the other thing too about those guys being on the roster. It doesn't bother me because if something were to happen, heaven forbid, to Morel or Bellinger in center or something, Craig Counsell was paid $40 million. He
Yeah,
wasn't paid $40 million to sit behind Jed and
No.
sit
right.
behind. Yeah, right. So
He's empowered.
If Pellinger goes down, he's going to say, "Give me PCA." if Christopher Morel goes down, he's going to say, "Give me Matt Shaw." Like he knows that's why he was testing so many guys in spring training. We didn't see David Ross nearly tweak and play with stuff like Craig Counsell did this past
we need to get the
spring.
guys who got us here to get us at the
Exactly. Exactly. He was playing everybody. So he would know when the injuries inevitably happen, who's going to be able to step up and help him out. He knows that he's got PCA ready to go. He knows he's got Owen Casey ready to go. He knows he's got Matt Shaw ready to go. These guys are just waiting because it's inevitable. Somebody's going to go down.
Of course.
And Miles Mastrobuoni and Mike Togman, great, awesome. They're staying on the bench while they go and get somebody else to play.
Exactly.
That's what that's what a smart manager does, and that's what Craig Counsell has shown me in spring that he's going to be willing to do.
Yeah. And that's why spring was so important, because Counsell, to your point, was playing everyone, was getting a feel for everyone. This kind of actually leads me to my bold prediction, or one of them at least.
Yeah, let's get into predictions here.
If there is someone, specifically an outfielder that goes down, I don't think it's going to be PCA that leaves a lasting impression for the Cubs in the outfield in 2024. I actually do think it's going to be Owen Casey. I think with his spring, with his bat, I think I wouldn't be shocked if he upseats PCA as a top outfield prospect after the season.
Yeah, I believe it.
I'm kind of with you there.
And
I'm not giving up on PCA whatsoever, but that bat needs work, man.
Yeah,
he does.
That needs work.
Kevin chiming in with PCA. Fat guy in a little coat. Owen Casey. That's a ball player. Player.
For a lottery ticket to one of the Cubs' best prospects.
Yeah. And say what you will, PCA, like, great prospect, he was raking in Iowa and stuff. When he came up and he wasn't getting consistent at bats, it was bad. Like, we saw it. It was bad. And it was a time that the Cubs needed him to be good, and he wasn't.
Right.
I'm not saying that that's like the expectation if he came up. I'm just saying that is a note that was taken by Craig Counsell. Whether he was the manager of the Cubs or not, he knows that he saw him not get consistent at bats and do that. Yeah. He did see Alexander Canario come up and not get consistent at bats and raked. Yeah. So I didn't mention him, but he's right on the cusp too of being ready to come up and be ready to go.
And I'm glad you brought him up, because there is a topic of conversation people have been bringing up about the last bench spot, Madrigal versus Alexander Canario. And I see both sides of the coin, because on one hand, I would like more pop on the bench, and Alexander Canario would provide that for you. On the other hand, you have a decent amount of swing and miss on this team as it is. And having another bat in there to put in a situation where you just need contact on the ball, just putting the ball in play. Madrigal puts the ball in play. Does he hit it hard? No. Does he hit it far? No. But
hey, he had one home run last year, and it was electric.
He had two.
He might add two.
He had two. He had two. Yeah. He had one against Cleveland, I think, and then he hit the one against the White Sox. Yeah, in the Christopher Morel game.
I forgot about the Cleveland one. I was only thinking of the White Sox one.
Yeah, the Cleveland one was his first one.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and the other thing why I think Madrigal made it over Canario too. Think about Craig Counsell. What was he like when he was playing? He was a contact guy, right?
Contact guy. Yeah.
Think about him as a manager of the Brewers. Who do you like off his bench? You like contact guys. How he comes to the Cubs, of course, he's going to pick the contact guy.
Sure.
And here's the thing: right-handed hitting fifth outfielder rarely gets playing time as is. So if you're looking at, I have two players probably not going to get consistent playing time. I need one to be a good runner. I need one to play multiple positions, be a good fielder. Madrigal, even in his limited profile compared to Canario, is always going to get that benefit of the doubt when it comes to being one of the last spots on the bench. If this was a case where we're arguing who should get everyday plate appearances in the lineup, of course, it's Canario.
Right.
But for this specific role, it's Magical.
Right. You have to put it all in context and
Yeah.
keep this in mind too, is that you have a guy at third base in Christopher Morel who's kind of trying to work it out.
Right.
This at least gives you some insurance having Mastroboni and Madrigal because you know they can play that position. So there's going to be that time where you might say, hey, this defense isn't working. We need to switch things up a little bit. And then, if it does work, you do still have some insurance. And it goes back to everything we mentioned about the contact and the matchups and whatnot. So there's kind of multiple reasons behind it. And again, if you want to come to me and say, you know what, out of complete honesty, I really just wish the Cubs had more pop off the bench. I don't think that's an unfair, unreasonable argument to make.
Hey,
but
not
I
wrong.
think you gotta, right. You can look at both sides of the coin, truly.
For
Yeah.
sure. Agreed.
Yeah. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. They had every chance to go get more pop to put on the bench. I will say that.
All I'm saying, not to bring it up again, JD Martinez's contract with the Mets was 1 year for $12 million. $7.5 million was deferred, meaning the Mets are only paying him $4 million next season. So, yeah, again, there's no reason why the Cubs can't be in the position to add players to the roster to the point where we're not asking the question, are they going to win the National League? We're asking the question, how many games will they be up by the All-Star break in the division? But
Exactly.
again, it's just a loser mindset that the front office has sometimes.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating because it was right there in front of them. You know, it was right there. And now we're talking about how much the Cubs organization is worth, them putting new billboards on rooftops. Like, don't tell me the money's not there. Don't if you don't
we
want to
might
pay
get a nice new Coca-Cola sign across Cleveland Avenue.
If you don't want to pay the tax and you don't want to be a rich owner, go find somebody that will.
Yeah.
Because I want to win so bad.
Me too.
And this goes for every team. Cubs, Bears, Hawks,
Oh, yeah.
Bulls, whatever. I want to win so bad. And give me a team in this city that wants to win as bad as I do.
In the third largest market, you are in Chicago. You have the privilege and the advantage of having more resources than 90% of the other markets out there. And the fact that so often the teams just say, nah, we don't want to. It's
and I get salary caps and stuff or whatever.
I mean, in other sports, that's but
but in particular baseball, like
yeah.
the Yankees are spending $100 million more than the second place team.
Yeah.
And they're still not winning, which is your argument of like, well, they're not winning. That's because they're spending so stupidly
right.
that they're in their own way.
Right. It's not way that the amount of dollars and cents. It's the quality.
The way that Jed constructs this team, I trust.
Yes.
Like,
same. Yeah.
He was told that he had to do it with the farm system, and he's done that. The farm system looks spectacular. It's the second best in baseball behind the Baltimore Orioles, who, by the way, are here. When you talk about bold predictions, they are here.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
The Cubs are right there too. They're like, they should be in the exact same boat. But what did the Baltimore Orioles do? I don't know about their payroll and stuff. Like, I don't know about that. But what did they do? They went and got Corbin Burns.
Yep.
Well, yes, they sold the team, and rest in peace, dude that died. Whatever. But what did they do? They needed a pitcher. Went and got Corbin Burns with the ammo that they had. Like, okay, you re-signed Cody, needed. Shota Imanaga, awesome, needed, right? Yeah. There were holes. You could argue that this team is ready, and you could argue that it needs more. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
I err on the side of like, I'm smack dab in the middle of like, I think this team can win a division, but also if we did more, we could win even more.
Well, that's where I am too. I'm not like this team is irrelevant or bad, but I don't know. Like, I'm not sitting here like I was before 2016, where I'm like, this is World Series or bust. I'm not in that mode right now.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I'm in like, get into the dance and see what happens. And like you said, That's loser mentality.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine to want to get in. Every team should want to get in because, like you said, as a Diamondbacks proof last year, if you get in, you have a chance to ride a halo to the World Series. The issue is the Diamondbacks are spending money this past offseason like the Cubs should have, and that's the problem. The Diamondbacks were there and want to be there again and spent money to make sure they are in the best possible
Look at all
position
the
to get there.
additions they made, man. I
Mhm.
mean, like they just made it to the World Series, and they're not a big market team. They're the
Right.
freaking
Not
Arizona
Yeah, they
Diamondbacks.
play in a
Right.
warehouse. They
Yeah,
sell $400 season passes to their fans. For
yeah.
$400, you could go to all 81 games.
Yep.
I'm not even gonna tell you what I'm paying for half a season at Wrigley.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, you go to a lot of those Diamondbacks games, and if they're playing the Dodgers, that place is 90% Dodger fans. And even when the
Mhm.
Cubs play there, there's countless Cub fans there,
It's
or
a
when
lot
the
of Cubs
Giants
fans.
play there, or whatever. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying they don't have a fan base, but you compare that fan base to the Cubs fan base or the Dodgers fan base, it's tiny. And yet here they are continuing to act like a team in a championship window. And
Yeah.
I want to add this too, Tommy, to what you just alluded to. We pay top dollar to see this team. We
Yep.
have to subscribe to the network, whether it's through cable or subscriptions. Tickets to Wrigley Field are among the most expensive in baseball. The experience at Wrigley Field is among the most expensive in baseball. We love it. It's great. It's awesome. But if we're going to be paying top dollar, we should be getting a top dollar product.
Yeah,
Right.
and why do we pay this top dollar? Because we love this team. And
Yes.
Yeah.
like for me, like Bears and Cubs, those are the
Oh yeah.
top 2 for me. Like, and it shows more in football season because I only get 18 chances a year to
Right.
go hard, right? I go hard 162 times for the Chicago Cubs.
Right.
And
Right.
Yeah.
obviously the energy can sometimes be different than it is those 18 times I see the Bears,
For
right?
sure.
Because I'm living and dying with every single play.
Yeah.
But
It's a different
the
game.
it's a different game, and so I consider. I mean, look around. The Cubs are my number one. Like this is what
Yeah.
I live and breathe. This is what the Cubs and the Bears are why I moved back to Chicago. Like
Yep.
I moved across the country to be here with these teams. I moved so I could get season tickets to the Cubs and pay top dollar to go see the Cubs every single day. I we blog about them. We type our little fingers off, and like we we talk about them on these shows. We do all these things because we
Mhm.
love Chicago Cubs and we love Chicago Bears, but we love the Chicago Cubs in this instance, and we just want to see more wins and more championships. We got one in 2016. It was awesome. I want to do it again. I want to do
Yeah.
it again, and it's just
We shouldn't limit
it's
ourselves. That's my whole
yeah.
thing in all this. We should not limit
Yeah,
ourselves.
Yeah.
and I'm really trying not to. I'm not trying to like. I don't want to be mad at ownership
Right.
Right.
this team is good. This is a good team, and I'm happy with the
Yeah.
They
team.
brought us a championship and
But
beautified the park too.
and Wrigleyville looks incredible. And
Yes.
when the Ricketts bought in, what was it? 900 million they paid? 800
Mhm.
million that they paid?
846,
All
I
right.
think.
Yeah, we got 5 billion more now. So
No.
I just like if they cared as much as the 3 of us on this podcast collectively cared, like we'd be 800 million over the threshold.
Yeah, and to your point, that's what makes it so weird because, like, it's such a nuanced argument because on paper, the Cubs have a good roster. That's that's a start from some of the rosters we've had in the past. And
Oh yeah, big time.
one of the stories I have going up tomorrow features a lineup from 10 years ago that had Emilio Bonifacio in the Cubs starting lineup. So
It sure
we
holds. Yep.
right. So we've come a long way. We're a good team this year. They had the money and potential to be a great team this year. And my one fear is with this rebuild is that there's an overcorrection. The last rebuild, they did top free agent signings to supplant how many times they depleted the farm system for trades.
Right.
This time, they have a phenomenal farm system. Yeah, they dabbled with the Dansby contract. They dabbled with the Shoto Minaga contract, but we haven't seen that prize free agent signing like we saw with John Lester, like we saw
Right.
with Jason Hayward. I'm afraid this is an overcorrection. And whether it's Tom passing it on Jed, they feel that it has to be done exclusively through the minor league system, which is fine. You built a great one. But just remember the success you had in 2016 where all your prospects hit right away, that's the exception. That's not the expectation.
Yeah, I'm glad you said overcorrection because they're really thinking about like obviously they're thinking about the money that they spent on Hayward, but
Yeah.
also they're thinking about when Bryant, Rizzo, and Baez and Schwarber all needed to be paid at the exact same time and they didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
So they're thinking about saving money for PCA, Owen Casey, Matt Shaw,
Yeah.
Canario, like all these guys, right? Ben Brown. We haven't even talked
Yeah.
about the pitching. Ben Brown,
Yeah.
Cade Horton.
Yep.
And that's what's so crazy. Like I am super high on Ben Brown, super high on Cade Horton. I think the long-term outlook of their pitching is actually pretty great. But
Sure.
in the nuanced argument that we're having, a 1-year deal for Jordan Montgomery.
The
would
1-year
not have-
deal for Jordan Montgomery, we're talking about taking down somebody. We're talking about taking
Right.
down the Dodgers in the NLCS.
Right. We're not, yeah. We're
We're
talking
talking about-
this
we're talking
season
about-
going
yeah.
in. Yeah.
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 JD Martinez off the bench. We're talking about hitting a bomb in the 6th inning off a Strider who had a no-hitter going, and now
Yeah.
the Cubs are rallying. Like,
Right.
it's just I can't let's not overshadow how excited we are for baseball.
Of course.
Baseball is
course.
back. We are so excited, and this Cubs team is going to be good.
Yeah.
But
And
we're talking, we're going to make the playoffs. I want to be talking, we're going to win the World Series.
Yeah.
But we're
And
talking, we're going to make the playoffs.
one more PSA. The
Yes,
Cubs are
and-
more likely going to lose tomorrow. I know if you're Cubs fans, you don't want to hear that, but there's a good chance they lose. I know if you're a Cubs fan, you probably have it in your draft to have the hottest of take about Craig Counsell being a terrible hire and they should have kept David Ross.
Don't
hit send on that tweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what?
I was
And
just thinking that too.
I'm
Yeah.
going to, you know what, Jordan? I'm going to extend that. Let's go through April before we say
Yes.
anything.
Yeah.
Because this is a gauntlet that
Yeah.
they're about to have
Yeah.
to run through.
Yeah.
Okay. They may have a losing record coming out of April. And you know what? That's okay.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those guys, we only have to play either one more time or not again. So
Exactly.
let's just get through April. Let's set the tone of what, okay. And then let's say we end April losing. Now we know what they got. They still don't know what we got.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
So
Yep. I
I'm with
agree.
you. We're not going to overreact about the Chicago Cubs record until June.
I know.
Okay.
Friday isn't Friday isn't off.
June.
They
Say
don't
that now, and then
Yeah.
by this time next week, we're going to be panicking
Oh,
and
yeah.
throwing
No.
no. swearing.
No, Alex.
Is it
no.
time to call up Matt
Wait.
Shaw?
Just you wait.
No. Let's trade Carter Bedard.
Well, now you're just nuts. Now you're just nuts.
All right. Let's go around the room here. One bold prediction for baseball, just for the season. And then we'll talk about a couple other things and then we'll get out of here. How about that?
Yeah.
Here's my bold prediction. I talked about it earlier. There are 3 teams that are going to make the playoffs from the National League West division because the Dodgers are good, obviously, but the Padres are good. The Giants are good. The Diamondbacks are good. The Rockies are there. Like 3 of those teams are going to make the playoffs at least.
I think so. Yep.
Nope.
Yep. That's my bold prediction.
Mine is the Pittsburgh Pirates will finish in second place in the National League Central.
You took mine. Took mine.
Thanks.
My bold prediction is I think that you're going to see the let's see. I got to think about this. Okay, I think you're going to see the Baltimore Orioles finally win a pennant. That's not necessarily bold because of
that'd
how
be fun.
good they are, but you look at the
I
other
consider that
years,
bold. I'd say bold.
Yeah, no.
There's such a young team still. They're
They're
such a
young,
young team, but they're
They're
so
a young
talented.
team. They play in a division with the Yankees, who just
And the
bought
Rays.
everybody, right? Yeah,
Yep.
and the Rays who are consistently good, and then the American League that still has the Astros. The
Mhm.
Rangers just won a World Series. The Mariners are going to be good. Nobody's talking about the Mariners. They're going to be good.
Yeah.
So that is not. That's not a gimme. That's a bold prediction. I'll say it.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. My other bold prediction was that I think this is probably more bold, so I didn't say it, but I think the Phillies are going to win the National League East.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what the Phillies have between Schwarber, Harper coming back, and the Phillies are always the team I envy because they're what the Cubs should have done in terms of the rebuild, and they always go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. They do, and they proved it. Like they re-signed Nola.
Yeah,
They got Wheeler on an extension. Like they were in it for Yamamoto. They were in the hunt.
yeah,
They were still in discussions with Jordan Montgomery too. So
and
yeah, I mean,
that's one team that you get closer to the trade deadline. Who are the teams that you always look at that are going to be buyers regardless? Phillies are in that conversation. Dodgers are going to be there. Padres are going to be there. So it's gonna be a fun National League East.
yeah,
If you're listening to this now or tomorrow, Phillies and Braves, you have to wait one more day to see that opening day. But I can't wait to see Harper go back up against the Braves. That's gonna be
yeah,
exciting.
yeah. I do have an alter ego. Sometimes I call myself Philly Tom
Philly
because
Tom, okay.
I've been to a couple weddings in the Philly area thanks to my wife. And I've been to a Phillies game. I went to a Phillies Mets game.
Okay.
I started a fight and then chanted "Let's go Cubbies."
Look at
Um,
you.
so yeah, I got a Mets fan and a Phillies fan to like start yelling at each other, and while they were yelling at each other, I was just going "Let's go Cubbies."
Oh, that's the
It was
best.
yeah, it was the best. It was the best. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you've never been to Philadelphia, I love Philadelphia.
Mhm. Yep.
If I was not a Philadelphia fan, I would be a Chicago guy. Or if I was not
If you're
from
not, yeah,
Chicago, if I was not a
you got
Chicago
you
guy,
for that.
I'd be a
Yeah.
Philly guy
Makes
because the
sense.
Phillies and the Eagles, I mean, that fan base is electric.
Yeah.
So
No.
we lost Alex for a minute. That's okay. He may come back before we're out of here. Let's talk real quick, just a couple things that happened outside of baseball, and then we'll do our predictions for next week. We'll get the hell out
Yeah.
of here. First thing, Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark has been offered $10 million to do the Big Three tournament league,
Yeah.
which is crazy because it's way more money than she would have gotten if if she were to play in the WNBA. So that was crazy. Welcome back,
So
Alex.
when I
Hi, sorry
first,
about
yeah.
that.
Oh, you're good. When I first heard the story, I was like, wait, is this just to forego the WNBA entirely and just play in the big three? But from what I've read, she still would have permission to play in the WNBA. And in that case, pick up that check, say yes,
Get
get
that
your
money.
games in, yeah, and then go back to the WNBA. And I know that there might be a boomer in this, and we're going to see it this summer when it comes to Caleb Williams. Is, oh, that's not doing right by the team. You can't be a superstar when you first enter the league. No, we live in 2024. Let these people get the money where they can. Let Caitlin Clark get the money where she can. Until the WNBA wants to pay their athletes like how they should be paid,
Yup.
let Caitlin Clark get the money that she deserves.
Yup. I agree. Yeah, so there's that. While we're on the subject of yikes. While we're on the subject, let's take a look at our bracket, boys.
Duquesne.
Anybody? Anybody want to look
Hey,
at our bracket?
I
Hey,
know we have
Tommy,
Duquesne.
Tommy, you were texting me, ho ho, look at Moorhead State during the first half of the Illinois game. And how did that game turn out? That's right. They got their asses whooped by Illinois, and now Illinois is in the Sweet 16.
Yeah. I did text you when Illinois was down, sure. But yeah, let's just take a look here, region by region. Okay, this one looks pretty good.
Yeah.
One little blemish with Baylor. Shout out Clemson, and then Dayton beat Nevada. But other than that, I think Arizona's going to beat Clemson, so I think we're going to be okay there. Illinois, Iowa State. What do you got, Alex?
I think this can go either way, man. I mean, Illinois is playing great basketball right now. Their last game against Duquesne, they played a full game, start to
Mhm.
finish, dominated.
Sure.
Iowa State's tough. That is not going to be an easy game. That is a good, tough defense. I am going to put a little fan confidence and say Illinois is going to squeak it out.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
In other news, Kentucky sucks.
Yeah.
That's the big story.
Yeah,
I'd
that
say.
one stung. That one stung a bit, but we're still alive in the Midwest here. Purdue did beat Utah State. And Creighton took down Oregon, but other than that, we're still okay. We come over here. Where are we? Yeah, Arizona is doing well. Alabama, and then nothing happened here. So yeah, stuff.
Yeah. And it sets up for a nice Thursday night. You have the Cubs at 6:30 tomorrow, followed by Illini
Yeah.
at 9. Enjoy your
Yeah.
Thursday night.
Yeah, which by the way,
kidding.
everybody on here, I will be at Country Club tomorrow night with the CHGO boys. I'm gonna go,
There you go.
to their watch party and hang out with them. So if anybody's out there, I will also be there. And then what will another thing. Let's talk about Obvious Shirts for a second. The 2024 collection just came out. So obviousshirts.com, go look at it. Some sweet shirts. Sweet shirts. So check that out. Shout out Joe.
Yeah. Always
Good
rock it at Wrigley.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Joe's a great guy. Yeah, I got a couple
yeah.
of shirts from him, so good stuff.
Yes, he's the best. Love Joe. And then everybody that works in the warehouse there, they're great people. So, and then what else was I going to say? Oh, I want to talk to you guys publicly. April 3rd is a Wednesday. It is next Wednesday, as a matter of fact.
It is.
I'm going to do the Red Line doubleheader.
Look at you.
Nice.
I'm gonna go take the Sox in at 1, and I'm gonna come up to Wrigley. So if either of one of you, or if anybody out there would like to join me, let's go. I haven't bought
There
any
you
tickets
go.
yet, so if anybody's interested in that, just let me know.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah,
Have fun
All
with
right.
that. I'll be working, but have fun with that.
Same. Yeah.
gross. Yeah. All right. I'll start with predictions, and then we'll get out of here. Prediction. I'm gonna say the Cubs. Oh, by the way, we're gonna have to reschedule because
I
next
figured.
Wednesday I will be.
Really? Yeah,
Yeah,
I had a
I know.
feeling.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
definitely
so-
had a feeling.
So maybe we'll run it on Thursday night next week.
Look at us.
That works for everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that should
All
work.
right.
Uh-huh.
All right. We'll go Thursday night for Through the Garden next week. I will say by this time next week, the Cubs will be, let's see, we'll have 3-3. I'll say the Cubs are going to be 3-3.
That's a good one.
I can't really argue that. That's fair.
All right. There you go. That's
I
my
mean,
prediction.
honestly, I'd be thrilled if they come 500 out of the month of April. If you come
Hell
out
yeah.
the month of April 500, I think you're feeling fairly decent,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, no,
Definitely.
I agree.
Definitely. All right. Predictions, boys. What are we leading next week with?
I will say Seiya Suzuki will have 4 home runs by the time we go live next time.
How
Love
do
it.
you keep reading my damn
Oh,
mind,
no.
dude?
Oh no!
Just take Connor Bedard hat trick and we'll get out of here.
Eventually going to hit.
Up yours. Up yours. I'm going to say we're going to have give me a 2-homer game from Christopher Morel, including a game winner.
Ooh,
Why
I
not?
like it.
I love it. I
I
love it.
like it.
I love it.
It's reasonable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, very reasonable, very plausible.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this too regarding the home opening series. Opening day, Monday, I checked the weather, not looking so hot.
Thank you,
Yeah,
ponchos.
I'll be there. So if
Oof,
anybody's
good
out
luck.
there, I will be there. It will be cold. Let's be cold together. Why not?
And wet.
If I would, I have yet to name a podcast. I'd like to name the podcast this week.
Go
Go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Title is this: Cubs.
Cubs.
Just
Okay.
Cubs.
Okay.
Just Cubs.
Let's go.
What? How can I say no to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't.
All right,
can't be
everybody.
biased.
Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you follow along on the Twitters and stuff. Follow all of us. Read all of our blogs. Do all the things. And then Thursday next week.
There we
Thursday.
go.
Thursday.